Hey everybody, welcome back. Please be sure to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below what you think about the Eisners. Are you really invested in the Eisners, or are you, just okay, not really excited about award shows? I'm going to be talking about the Eisners quite a bit today, and to me, the Eisners mean a lot. They are my Oscars of the movies. They really show whether or not that my comics that I read and that everyone reads, really get their spotlight that they should be. That's kind of how I feel about the about every nominee on here. I'm just very ecstatic that they're getting the applause and the recognition that they should be, because, there is a lot of talented nominees on the Eisners this year, and I am just very, very excited to be talking about them. I'm going to be giving out, thoughts about my favorite ones, and I know everybody has different opinions, but these will definitely be my opinions and my choices on who I believe is going to be winning the Eisners this year. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start off with Best Limited Series. So, Best Limited Series, we have Barbarian Red Planet, which is a Black Hammer book written by Jeff Lemire and Tate Bromble and drawn by Gabriel Hernandez Walta. This comic is very emotional to me. It definitely shined a lot this year, especially among all the other Black Hammer titles. I believe Barbarian definitely stood out. It made me cry, and it made me feel very emotional for Barbarian, the character, but also for the time period as it is. I mean, it is Pride Month, and just talking about the AIDS pandemic back in the day and how that affected, people during that time really changes your perspective of things. And the fact that our main character is an alien but yet is still gay and still has to relate to all these human feelings and emotions, and the time, the riots and things like that, it's really impactful, and I really enjoyed this storyline quite a bit. So it is probably one of my contenders for winning. We also have Decorum by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Mike Huddleston. I really enjoyed this comic. I think Decorum is a really interesting comic, and it's very unique in its own way, and I think that's what Jonathan Hickman does best. However, I do not think it is one of the top ones for this limited series category. I did really enjoy it, like I said, but there was times in it that I were confused, and there was moments where, in between issues, it was very long breaks. So I'm sure it would read much better in a trade paperback, but as of right now, it's still not complete either, so I'm a borderline on that one. It's not going to be my top choice, but I did enjoy it. Also, we have Far Sector by N.K. Jemisin and drawn by Jamal Campbell. I think the art on this is really great. I think Far Sector is a very interesting character. I really like her. I think she's a really great Green Lantern. And, this comic did very, very well, and I appreciate that. Unfortunately, this comic just wasn't for me, and I respect that. I think the covers were fantastic, and I mean, if it is your favorite comic and that's the one you want to win, I totally understand, and I recognize it as a good comic. However, I personally just don't think it will win this year. We also have Strange Adventures by Tom Keene and Mitch Gerards and Evan Doc Schreiner. So Strange Adventures has been a hit or miss for me. I think it did really, really well in the beginning. The middle has been kind of lackluster, and now it's been starting to pick back up again. So I am a little teeter-totter on this. I don't think it's Tom Keene's best work, and unfortunately, I don't think it will win either. We also have Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. This one has been a really cool storyline, very fun comedic feel. I loved how Jimmy Olsen was just going through his everyday life and yet still has to deal with all of these crazy antics because he's Superman's pal, I think Matt Fraction did a great job. I think the art is really good as well. I do think it is a contender, but I don't think it will be winning the Best Limited Series section, because our last nominee we have is We Live. And this was a very small Aftershock comic. It is done by the Miranda brothers, and this one really surprised me. This comic definitely makes you feel a bunch of different ways, And one of my favorite parts about this comic is that there is these little QR codes that you scan and you listen to music as you read the comic, and that is very, very impactful for me. I thought that was super unique, super different, and the way the ending that We Live ends on is the surprise of a lifetime. I never saw it coming. And man, this book blew up. I mean, the number 1 sells for a ton of money. The number 5 sells for a good amount. I mean, it was just really unexpected. And so I do believe that We Live will be the winner of this category. If not We Live, I do think Barbalian might take it. But I'm standing strong on We Live. I think it was very unique, very different, and I think it's just going to definitely surprise some people, and the fact that it's even nominated, I mean, is a surprise, so I'm going to be going with We Live on this one. Okay, so Best Continuing Series is going to be a really tough one for me because a lot of these titles were in my top 10 of last year, but I'm going to set aside my top 10 for this and picture which one I believe will win the Eisner. So, we have Bitterroot by David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green. I think this is such a unique comic. I really enjoy this comic. I think the art is fantastic. The writing is so good. You get so invested in the Sangre family. And I love every minute of this comic. Every issue just dives you more and more into these monsters. And I love how it ties in racism as well as, the monsters, because it makes it so natural feeling. It's not like shoved down your throat. It is very natural, and I absolutely adore this comic. We also have Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Checchetto. This is one of my favorite Marvel titles being published right now. I think Chip Zdarsky does a fantastic job of showing off how unfair the American justice system is, as well as our prison system, and incorporating that with our superhero lives. So it is part fantasy, but it dives into some real deep stuff that we deal with every day in our lives. So I think he's done a fantastic job on that. We also have Department of Truth by James Tynion and Martin Simmons. I mean, Department of Truth has been incredible. It's been one of my biggest surprises. I knew I would enjoy this comic, but I didn't know how much I would enjoy it. And just having the thought of conspiracy theories run into your head, and how and why, and you're always questioning yourself. And I think it's a really great standout. Because we also have Gideon Falls, and that is by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, who is my favorite team in comics, period. They have done plenty of stuff together, and I love every time they do stuff together. It's incredible. It blends horror, it blends sci-fi, it blends conspiracies, it blends, all types of different comics into one, but yet maintains a very concise storyline where you're never lost, you're never missing something, all things are answered by the end of it. But one of my favorite parts of this comic is the paneling. Man, is it gorgeous. There are so many splash pages where you just are like in awe, and you just sit there and look at it, and you're just like, wow, look at these details, each and every single part of it. Incredible. I love Gideon Falls. It's probably my favorite comic of all time. We also have Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky and Ramon K. Perez. I do love Stillwater as well. I think Stillwater is a very interesting take. It takes horror comics, but as well as mystery, and it blends it in, but it's not the type of horror that you would expect. There's no blood and gore, but it's definitely like people being held hostage in this town, and you're nervous for them and you're scared. And I think it's a really cool thing that Skybound and Image has done to create this world. Chip Zdarsky does, he does a great job at blending real life with our fantasy life. So I think he is, one to beat for the Eisners. He is the devourer of Eisners. I mean, Chip Zdarsky, man, he's fantastic. But you also have Usagi Yojimbo as well by Stan Sakai. And although I do not read Usagi Yojimbo, I recognize how big of an impact it has been on comic books and why Usagi Yojimbo is so popular. And to this day, it is very popular. He is still up there with all the greatest people, and I mean, how could I not recognize it in this category? This, best continuing series is a very tough one for me, like I said. Ultimately, I'm down to a couple. I unfortunately don't think Department of Truth will take this category. Although I love Department of Truth, I unfortunately think that it is a little too new compared to the other ones. The other ones have definitely, had more time to shine. But also, I think the majority of people really enjoy Department of Truth, but the people that vote for the Eisners don't necessarily get it. And I think that's kind of a problem, but I do think it probably will win Best New Series. But we're going to get to that in a bit. But so Best Continuing Series, I am torn between Daredevil and Gideon Falls. Gideon Falls, like I said, is my favorite comic, so of course I want it to win, but I do think Daredevil had the better writing of last year. I do think Daredevil can shine better to most people in that aspect. I also think Bitterroot has a really good chance as well. So it's tough for me, but I'm going to land with my prediction as Daredevil winning the Best Continuing Series. Now time for our Best New Series category. It starts off with Black Widow by Kelly Thompson and Elena Casagrande, and I have not read this book, so I have no initial thoughts on it, unfortunately. It honestly hasn't sold very well at my store either, so I can't really compare that, but, I mean, I get that Black Widow is important. I get that having a strong female hero in comic books is very important. However, like I said, I just don't have any relation to it, and I can't really talk too much about it. But I can talk more about the others. So, Crossover by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. Man, am I excited that Donny Cates finally got nominated for his Eisner. I mean, he's been waiting for this for a very long time, and he very much deserves it. Just, unfortunately, I don't think Crossover is his best work. So, I am eliminating Crossover. I don't think it will win Best New Series. We have Department of Truth. This one I do think is a really strong contender for Best New Series. It is fighting it also with Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes and Jason Shawn Alexander. I think Philadelphia nails the comic genre. I think having this vampire story that is so dark, menacing, violent, mixed in with our American history politics, having our American presidents be, having the real problems of it. And there is so many moments in this comic where my mouth just drops. I am in utter surprise on what happens multiple times in this comic. I think Philadelphia is a fantastic comic. I love it absolutely so much, and I think it's just like a really fun read. If you like vampires and you like new takes on vampires, I highly recommend reading Philadelphia. It is one to beat. We also have We Only Find Them When They're Dead by Al Ewing and Simone Di Maio. I really enjoy this comic. I think it is drawn beautifully. However, I do think the writing is a little bland for my taking. Whenever I read a comic book, if I cannot recognize a single character's name after reading the comic, I do think something is wrong. I love character development, so, that's probably a big problem on why I don't think this comic will win Best New Series. Not saying that it's not a good comic. It is a good comic. I read it. I really enjoy it. Me personally, I don't have that connection to it because I am missing a lot of character development. So, to me, Department of Truth and Philadelphia are right there, but I'm going to say Department of Truth takes the Best New Series take because of how well it has sold, how popular it has been, and how James Tynion definitely needs some recognition. So, I'm going with Department of Truth. Now we're on to the best writer take on this, and there is quite a few great writers in this category. We have Ed Brubaker, who did Pulp, Reckless, Friday. He is a super known comic writer. He's been writing for a very long time, but he is mostly great at crime noir comics, and that is what he specializes in. That's what he loves to do, and I think some of these titles that came out have been some of his best works. Pulp in particular really stood out to me. I think it was very unique and different, and I love how it related to how he almost died as well, and mixed that in with his own stories. You know, it really stands out to me on how well Ed Brubaker has been doing these last couple of years, so he's definitely one to beat. We also have Matt Fraction, who did Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Adventure Man, November, and Sex Criminals. He's done quite a bit. A lot of people love Matt Fraction. He is a very unique writer in a sense, and, you know, he is fantastic. I think he's great. He knows how to do comedy well, he knows how to do adventure well, and I mean, he's a tough one as well. I am going to say that. It's going to be very hard. Jonathan Hickman is actually nominated for Best Writer as well. He did Decorum. He's done X-Men. I don't think it's his year. Jonathan Hickman's probably in my top 10 comic writers of all time, and I just don't think it was his year. I don't think that, you know, the stuff he's written has been his best stuff. So I'm actually quite surprised he's even nominated for Best Writer, even though I love him. Like I said, it just, to me, hasn't been the Hickman I know and love. We also have Jeff Lemire, who is one of my favorite writers. He's done tons of Black Hammer work. He did The Question. He's done Family Tree, did Gideon Falls, you know. He has a bunch more coming out. He has had a standout year, especially with Sweet Tooth coming out on Netflix and being the huge success that it was. So Jeff Lemire, one of my favorite writers. I can't knock him, you know. I think he's fantastic. We also have James Tynion as well, who does Something's Killing Children, Wind, Batman, Department of Truth, and Razor Blades. Whew, it's a tough competition this year. I do have to say that. So, I mean, James Tynion, he's fantastic. I love him. I love all the work that he puts out. Most of his work is in my top 10. I mean, I am super surprised by him, especially because, you know, he has been writing for a while, and before he never really surprised me as much as he has been now. I think when Something's Killing the Children released, it definitely perked a bunch of people's ears and was like, oh my god, James Tynion, what's his new work? What is it? But I do think people really like him a lot is because of the secondary market. People speculate on him a lot, and they make him a lot of money. I mean, it's tough to say that. But I do love his writing. I love his work. I think he's amazing. I just unfortunately don't think he's going to win Best Writer. I think there is some other standout people that haven't won just yet. And we also have Chip Zdarsky as well. I mean, like I said, Chip Zdarsky is like the devourer of Eisners. He loves Eisners. He gets an Eisner every year. I mean, how can he not win this year? He's nominated for so many things. So he's done Stillwater, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. He did, you know, Spider Shadow, you know, that we're still working on. He does a lot of stuff, and he's really, really good, and I really enjoy him. However, if I'm narrowing down to what I believe will win Best Writer, I am between Ed Brubaker and Jeff Lemire. I think they have done the more high-end Eisner nominee writing that people will be invested in. So my prediction is that Ed Brubaker takes this category. I think Ed Brubaker's work in the last year has been some of his best so far. So I'm going with Ed Brubaker. Now we have Best Penciler Inker or Penciler Inker Team. So we have Mike Aldred, who did Bowie, Stardust, and Daydreams. He is a fantastic artist. He also did X-Ray Robot, which I absolutely love. It's very unique, very old school. He's known for doing Madman, and I absolutely love his work. I think it's super unique and special. I also really enjoy Marco Cicchetto, who does Daredevil. I think his artwork is super top-notch. I think every detail is very unique and different, and I really enjoy it. We also have Jorge Corona, who did Middle West, which I really enjoy. We have Bertadran Gatatone. My bad. I don't know how to say this, and I'm unfortunately not too familiar with this person. They did Pizzovai by Magnetic Press. I can't really compare this person to the other people because I do know and recognize the other people. So, because we also have Mitch Gerards and Evan Doc Shaner who did Strange Adventures together, and I think that is some really unique teamwork because you have a very neat, precise, clean style art mixed in with a very, I don't want to say it's kind of like street level art, kind of like graffiti and things like that, but it's not very clean. It's kind of messy, but it's in a nice way, a nice kind of messy. So I really enjoy that team up. I think that is a really great team. But I also really enjoy Sanford Green's Bitterroot. I think Sanford Green can do some really great art. I love his additions to facial expressions and things like that. So this one is a tough one for me. I am a little torn between Mike Aldred and Mitch Gerards' Evan Doc Shaner for this, but ultimately I'm going to go Mitch Gerards, and Evan Doc Shaner will take this category. I do love all the other people. I think they are fantastic. I just think that most people will vote for them because of how unique the different the parallels are between the two. So now we have Best Cover Artist, and we have Hamal Campbell, my bad, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Far Sector. I think these are some fantastic covers. I'm always in awe by the covers. I think they're really great. I think they have really nice angles to them as well. We also have Simone de Mayo, who does We Only Find Them When They're Dead. Really cool covers. I really like the Dead God covers. I think those are fantastic. I think they're very interesting and unique, very sci-fi-esque. We also have Mike Huddleston, who does Decorum. Very unique covers. I think it's very different from most, so I think those are very interesting. We also have Dave Johnson, who did Butcher of Paris. Very cool, abstract, architectural covers. Very, very nice. We also have Peach Momoko, though, who has done covers for just about everyone. We have Buffy, Mighty Morphin, Something's Killing Children, Power Rangers, Dynamite, Vampirella, Crow, a bunch of Marvel variants. The list goes on. She has done cover after cover after cover, and they have been popular in the last year. She has been the one to look out for. And there's also Ramon K. Perez, who has done Stillwater covers, and I really like the Stillwater covers, cover A's especially, because they always tend to hide the issue number inside somewhere on the cover. So I think that is a unique thing to do with a cover, and those really stand out to me. But, however, I do think Peach Momoko will take this category. I think Peach Momoko has been killing it, and wow, is she a star now. She is signed exclusively with Marvel just because of it. And so, I can't not say Peach Momoko will win this. Now, we also have Best Coloring, and although I'm not too familiar with some of these colorists, I am going to pick out a couple of ones that stand out to me. So Laura Aldred, who does X-Ray Robot and Bowie, Stardust, Reagan's Moonage Daydreams. She works with her husband Mike Aldred all the time, and I think the pair of them just are fantastic. I love the unique old school looks and colors, so she really stands out to me. Jean-Francis Boulet is the Middle West colorist. He has done the colors for pretty much all of Scotty Young's work. So he's did like I Hate Fairyland and things like that, and I think he got snubbed with those. So I think he is a really good colorist, especially to match up with some of Scotty Young. It's just, it really emphasizes things, and especially with Middle West, I loved how he could take like really dark moments of the book and use really dark tones, but then yet on some parts have like really bright aesthetics, and I really enjoyed that. We also have Marte Garcia, who did Empire and X of Swords. The coloring just didn't stand out to me as much in those comics, so unfortunately I'm not really there with that We also have GP, who did one story by Fantagraphics. I'm not too familiar with this one, so I can't really compare to the others. Then we have Matt Wilson, who does Undiscovered Country, Firepower, Thor. Matt Wilson actually has stood out to me for Undiscovered Country, not so much the other ones, but Undiscovered Country especially because in the last arc we were definitely in like this technological world, and having these thin wire lines come up in each panel and having a darkness and this bright color really stood out to me, and I really thought it was unique and different, and it made the panels pop a lot more, so I really enjoy that. But I think the winner of this takes Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart does coloring for a bunch of comics, but mainly a lot of Jeff Lemire comics, including Black Hammer, Gideon Falls, but he's also done like Spider-Man, Prometheus 1313, and you know, he also does like Ultra Mega and things like that. Dave Stewart stands out to me as my number one colorist. So every time I see Dave Stewart as a color, I pick it up. I mean, Vinyl just recently came out, and I picked it up because Dave Stewart was the colorist. I mean, his colors just shine so much for me. He knows when to use really, really dark tones, and he knows when to use really, really bright moments. So being able to balance that in multiple comics, because he does a lot, really shines. And I'm going Dave Stewart on this one, hands down. I don't think there's any other winner. Now we have Best Letterer, and a Best Letterer to me means that the lettering is not in the way of a specific artist. It is specially designed in a certain place. It is alludes maybe in inside panels, things like that, where it doesn't distract me, but yet still really shines on the lettering. So Mike Aldred as well is nominated for his lettering. I think his lettering is really unique and different. Like I said, it's very retro. He loves doing like the older style of lettering, which I like. We also have Duran Bennett, who has done a ton of stuff, but most notably I know him for is King of Nowhere, Something's Killing Children, We Only Find Them Dead, Far Sector, Harley Quinn Black, White, and Red, Martian Manhunter, Vampire the Masquerade, things like that. He actually stands out to me, especially in Something's Killing the Children. I think the writing, the lettering in that is really unique, especially the double spread pages on each issue of Something's Killing Children, where it just says, Something is Killing the Children. It's all in black. Those pages I look forward to every single issue. So I think he definitely is up there. We also have Adita Bikar, who did Barb Alien and John Constantine Hellblazer, as well as the Department of Truth, Lot Soldiers, Gigas, and the Picture of Everything Else by Vault Comics. Definitely stands out to me with Department of Truth. The lettering in this is really unique. Letters are either in bubble form or they are blended in between panels. And I think the in between panels really shines in my eyes. I think when you put letters in between panels, you create a narrator. And the narrator is very unique and very special in Department of Truth. And I think the letters on it just slightly, not perfect, but still readable, and I really enjoy that. We also have Clayton Cowles, who, wow, he does a lot. He's done Aquaman, Batman, Strange Adventures, Superman, Jimmy Palace, and X of Swords, Morbius, Bog Bodies, Die, Reaver. He's done a lot. He's also done Venom and things like that. And he's one of the better Marvel letterers, in my opinion. He makes sure that there is never like a letter on like someone's arm or someone's face or things like that. And I know with Marvel comics, it can be, Marvel and DC, it can be really, really tricky finding spots that isn't covering the art, because you only have so many panels in a Marvel and DC comic. So being able to shine with a lettering inside one of the big twos is huge for me. So I really enjoy Clayton Cowles quite a bit. We also have Stan Sakai, who does Usagi Yojimbo. I mean, he's been doing lettering for a very long time, and he knows what he's doing. He does a really great job at the letters for Usagi Yojimbo, and yeah, he's a legend. We also have Russ Wooton, who does Wonder Woman Dead Earth, Decorum, Monstrous, Die Die Die, Flower Power, Oblivion Song, Outcast, Stillwater. Some really hit titles there. Unfortunately, I've read pretty much all of these books, but I can't really decipher the lettering as being a standout on any of them. So, for me, I am between Clayton Cowles and Aditya Bikar. For me, I think Aditya Bidikar is going to take the lead for me. I do think that she will win. So that's my choice for best lettering. We also have a couple of other categories in here that I just want to highlight as couple of specific people or nominees. So we have Best Digital Comic. I'm going to stand up for Friday by Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin. I think this is a really great digital comic, and I'm hoping it will win, and I hope it has a standout performance. We also have Best Writer Artist. I would like to talk about Junji Ito's Remina and Venus in the Blind Spot. I think both of those have been fantastic. I think he is one of the best manga artists / writers. I think he's really, really top notch, and every time there's a new Junji Ito book, I am thrilled. So, definitely excited for that. But also in the Best Writer Artist category, it's Jin Luen Yang, who did Dragon Hoops, and I think he really is special. I think he does some really great stories and things like that. I'm going to talk about in another category of his. So we also have Best U.S. Edition of International Materia in Asia. We have Junji Ito again with Remina. Highlight of my last year. I really enjoyed that manga. I thought it was great. And Spy X Family is also nominated as well. Spy X Family is another really great manga that has sold incredibly well at my store. It's always on back order and you can never get enough. So, highly recommend checking that one out as well. And then last but not least, the one I really want to talk about probably the most is the best adaptation from another medium. It is Superman Smashes the Klan, adapted by Jin Luen Yang and Guru Hiru. This comic means a lot to me. I grew up loving Superman. I still love Superman. I think Superman's great. I love that he's a Boy Scout. You know, I think children grow up either choosing whether you want to be Batman or Superman. And to me, Superman stood out to me. He was a Boy Scout. He was kind-hearted. You always were able to look up to him to save the day and things like that. And lately, unfortunately, Superman has been some of my least favorite comics. It's been very bland. People are having a hard time writing him and things like that. Until I read Superman Smashes the Klan. And everything changed to me. Superman Smashes the Klan means so much to me because over the last couple of years, I haven't had a good Superman run. I was nervous. I was like, oh my god, what is going to happen to Superman? Batman's crushing it. Superman's going to be depleted. I'm done. But Superman Smashes the Klan was so unique and special. And not just to me, but just to so many people. It deals with racism. It deals with, tough subjects. But it's meant for all ages. All ages. Not just meant for me. Not just meant for older people. It's meant for, my nieces and nephew can read this and love it as much as I have. It's for everyone. And that means the most to me. That anybody can read this comic and get the feeling that I felt reading it, being like, wow, that's my Superman. My Superman saves people. My Superman is not evil. My Superman kills it. He crushes it. And you know what? I don't care if he's crushing Nazis. It's so good. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I can't wait for it to win Best Adaptation from Another Medium. Also, it's also nominated for Young Readers category. And I hope it just sweeps the board because this comic, it was so good. And I understand if it's not for you. I get it. It's not for everyone. People that love Batman, they're not going to want to read Superman Smashes the Klan, and I get it, and I understand. But to me, having that comic be what I've wanted from Superman in years, I'm so happy it's nominated and being recognized. And I really hope Jin Luen Yang sees that people do care about this comic, and I hope he makes more. I hope he makes a lot more because I think he's doing a great job at what he writes. He does Batman, Superman now. I think it's really good. He does Shang-Chi, also really good. he's doing a great job, and I just wanted to recognize him and talk to you all about him as well. So, let me know what you think of the Eisners this year. I know we're going to be coming up to it soon, and I can't wait to see if my predictions are correct or not. And I want to know what you are most excited for to win. So let me know down in the comments, and I hope you have a great day.